Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
New research has emerged which suggests that people living near major roads have a greater chance of developing dementia. Scientists in Canada tracked the progress of more than 6 million adults for 11 years and found those living within 50 metres of high traffic roads had a 7% higher risk of developing dementia. The study suggests that the two potential factors are air pollution and busy traffic. Well, with us now is the Director of Research at Alzheimer's Society, Dr. Doug Brown. He's in our central London studio, an environmentalist and former Director of Friends of the Earth, Tony Juniper. He joins us from Cambridge via Skype. Doctor, to you first, if I may. Talk to us, if you would please, about this latest study and your views on whether or not it can be connected to dementia. I mean, it is known that living on a main road is bad for your general health.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really important study for us because the causes of dementia are so complex. So being able to look at millions of people who live in a particular region in Canada to compare the postcodes with their medical records and see what impact living close to busy roads may have on their health. What this study has shown is that it looks like dementia is more common the closer somebody lives to a main road, say within 50, 100 or 200 metres. So this is the largest study that has really given us this important observation. But what we need to see now is more research looking at this in more detail. We still don't know whether living near a busy road definitely causes dementia, and we don't know what factors of perhaps living near a busy road may lead to an increased risk of the different diseases that cause dementia. So we need to see a lot more research looking into that in a lot more detail before we can really decide what this means for us all and our risk of developing dementia.
Tony Juniper, former Director of Friends of the Earth. This is preaching to the converted, isn't it?
Well, this particular piece of research, I agree, it does raise a lot of extra questions. Is this linked to air pollution? Is it linked to noise? What we do know, however, is that in this country and indeed many other parts of the world, air pollution is already a big known killer. In this country, the Department of Health reckons we're losing something like 40,000 people a year suffering an early death as a result of their exposure to pollutants travelling in the air. Most of it is coming from transport, and of course, the closer you live to a main road, then the more pollution you're going to get. Just to put that 40,000 figure into perspective, it was the case that during the Second World War, there was something like 60,000 total civilian casualties in Britain, 60,000 deaths caused by actions, hostile actions. That's about 18 months worth of the Second World War. Each, if you look at it in terms of the air pollution deaths, 18 months worth of what happened in the Second World War, in 18 months, we're achieving what happened in the Second World War in terms of civilian deaths. That is absolutely huge. And I do believe we need to urgently investigate what's going on with this data. As has been pointed out, it's not a causal relationship we can point to. There's a link been uncovered by the Canadian research. So I do think the Department of Health needs to urgently get on top of understanding what might be the implications of that in this country. And of course, the world is increasingly data rich. And so it would be possible for people to quite quickly, I would have thought, to begin understanding whether such a relationship exists in this country, and then to start burrowing into what exactly is going on. But I do think we've got every good reason to be thinking that we should be urgently cleaning up our roads, and to do that, to be cleaning up our vehicles. And of course, noise is an additional problem that may be behind this study as well. And one of the things that you can see immediately that comes from both of those things in terms of policy is the need to make an urgent switch to electric vehicles, because they're quieter and they are clean at the point of use. And I do think this is something that now the world needs to urgently embrace, because we've got enough data already to know that we've got some serious problems.
Okay, Doctor, I mean, when we talk about traffic noise, presumably that is the direct link with the air pollution, and that's the issue there. And previous research, I believe, has actually said that the traffic noise and air pollution reduces the density in white matter in the brain, and that, I suppose, what we've heard today is underlining what scientists have already been exploring.
Absolutely. There's a lot of research going on to understand what the causes of dementia are. There's the research that you referenced, and there was some research that was published at the end of last year that was looking at air pollutant particles that may be able to be getting into the brain and may have an effect. At this point in time, there just isn't enough information to have that direct causal link between traffic, between air pollution and between dementia. We do need to see a lot more research looking at really what that causal link is. What we do know, however, though, if people do want to look to try and reduce their dementia risk, is that if we all don't smoke, if we all take regular exercise and we all eat a healthy diet, we could significantly reduce our risk of developing dementia in later life. So there are things we can do now, but there are things that we need to keep doing, and I would agree with my colleague that we need to see Department of Health, the government and others responding to this. There has been a response. We have seen more investment in dementia research. The Alzheimer's Society has pledged £150 million to dementia research over the next decade. So we need to see that research increase our understanding of the causes of dementia so that we could make changes in our lifestyle or develop treatments to try and prevent, treat or cure dementia in the future.
Yeah, and Tony Juniper, while we are, as individuals, doing what we can to try to decrease the risk, whether it is through taking regular exercise, not smoking, less drinking, etc., you feel that the government should be doing more?
Yes, indeed. And I think all of the advice we've just heard is very sound, and people obviously can make personal choices that will make a difference, a positive difference. This research, however, and other research that's gone before it, does reveal a very big implication for policy. We can't solve this problem purely by people changing their behaviour, though that obviously is something we can all do. This is about transport policy. If living near to a main road is causing ill health, and we know already that it is, this is an additional thing on top of respiratory illness and heart disease, then this is something that really in the end can only be sorted out by government choices. And as I said before, one of the things that we know already that we need to embrace from the point of view of public health is to move away from internal combustion engines and to clean alternatives. And one of those, in terms of cars, of course, is electric vehicles, but also facilitating more opportunities for cycling and walking, which not only reduces air pollution, but of course, then also improves people's health through having more exercise. And on top of that, of course, then helps us cut the emissions causing climate change. And actually, the more you dig into all of these things, you can see that beyond the technical research needs, it's really about taking a holistic view and seeing the linkages between public health, climate change, fossil fuels, air pollution, and to realise that these things are not separate issues in the end. They're all different phases of the same problem. And government needs to get its arms around that and to take some big steps towards solving it at a higher level. Going electric, I think, is one implication.
Indeed, so as you were underlining from your earlier point, it's good to talk to both of you. Sadly, we're out of time. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us.
Well, the toxic chemicals that pollute our cities could be linked to the risk of getting dementia, according to a new study. Researchers in Canada have found that people who live near busy traffic, clogged roads, face a 7% higher chance of developing dementia than those who live further away. They haven't proven a direct cause, but it's thought that air pollutants get into the bloodstream and could then affect the brain. Our Health and Social Affairs correspondent Victoria MacDonald has this.
The A4 at 10 this morning, running into central London, a constant flow of cars and trucks past houses and departments. Now a study claims that living close to a busy road like this could increase the risk of dementia. The Canadian authors say it could have serious public health implications.
Our study, along with a much broader research literature, does provide a pretty good public health argument for further measures to reduce emissions from traffic. I think it also raises the question of how we should plan and lay out our communities, whether we should be looking at locating residential areas at a greater distance from major traffic arteries, and perhaps also challenge us to look at elements of building design that might provide better protection for building occupants from pollutants that arise outdoors.
It was a large study of more than 6 million people in Ontario, looking at traffic pollution and neurological conditions. They found no link with Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis. And the dementia risk, statistically speaking, was small, half that of smoking. But it was, the study found, higher the closer people live to a busy road. So at 50 metres, the risk was between 7 and 11%. 50 to 100 metres, it was a 4% higher risk. 101 to 200 metres, it fell to 2%. And more than 200 metres, there was no increase in risk. What the authors themselves admit is that this study doesn't prove that heavy traffic causes dementia, not least because dementia is a hugely complex condition. In fact, the highest risk is growing older. But what all the experts who've looked at this paper agree is that it adds to the growing weight of evidence that air pollution is bad for our health. Exposure to fine airborne particles can cause asthma, lung cancer, heart disease and strokes. There are calls for better monitoring of schools near main roads and motorways because of high levels of nitrogen dioxide. But experts today sounded a note of caution on the link with dementia.
I think this is the first study showing this link. So for now, people living near a busy road shouldn't be concerned, but it does warrant further investigation. But what we do know is that smoking, a poor diet and a sedentary lifestyle also increase your risk. And they're things that people can take action on now. So people should be more concerned about those factors than this at this stage.
At the very least, experts say this sounds a warning bell. This was a time-lapse picture taken in Beijing 3 days ago, where the smog levels are often high, sometimes dangerously so. And post-Brexit, the UK government has so far failed to commit itself to retaining the EU air quality limits, despite the fact that in 2016, parts of London breached the limits set for the whole year in the space of just 7 days.
Victoria MacDonald reporting now.
I've been getting away with it all my